just lit this town like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down.
Alright, here we are, folks.
Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up.
Welcome back once again. This is Chris Report, and he assured me that St. Simon's down in Boulders. Folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa. We got this far, I don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. Well, folks, poor Heidi, hat ihr Herz verloren. Heidi hat ihr Hatki verloren. Well, poor little Heidi there. Tough break for her. But that Trumpy is up to no good, as usual. Welcome back to the program on Friday, May 10th, 2024, folks. This is Chris live in central Pennsylvania. How y'all doing out there? Well, we got lots coming up here. Scheduled broadcast now with Reverend Kenneth Mishway from the African Christian Democratic Party. My first time interview him. That will be on Wednesday. It'll be a brief interview, so make sure you don't miss it. And then also on Monday, we have the leader, the president of the United Democratic Movement, Bantu Holomisa, will be back on the program. Looking forward to that as well. And I'm in discussion right now with Devin Hofmeyer to also come on the program and still reaching out to the IFP. My contact there no longer works the IFP, so they put me back in contact with my original contact at the Inkatha Freedom Party. So we'll see what happens there. I've heard nothing from the Patriotic Alliance, no response. Also no response from MK as of yet. So anyway, there you have it. We're still trying to get you more interviews. Time is ticking away as South Africa's election approaches. Lots to talk about today. South African broadcaster, propaganda outlet censoring the Democratic Alliance advertisement. We've got the Constitutional Court hearing that took place today with advocates arguing the cases for and against Jacob Zuma appearing on the ballot in support of the IEC. Also, friends of the court and amicus briefs were filed, and they spoke as well. One of them being Ferreira was one of the advocates speaking today on behalf of friends of the court. It's a busy, eventful day in South Africa, here around the world. Also, a few other things happening too. Mad cow disease is back in the UK. Well, I think so. It runs in the clan of the Youssefs, does it not? The famous Youssefs from Inverness. Yikes. Dylan Comberg is here. Val Cooper, Pierre Orban, Myra Page, Charles Van Onselen, the voice of reason. And we've got Arctic back in. He's somewhere on approach, I'm sure. Are you on ILS or are you going VFR? Is Arctic on ILS or is he going VFR today? Is he risking VFR? All right. So, Teresa, welcome to you. Sorry about that. And who else? Monterey Sieberts is in from Cape Town. Garrett is here. Charles. Daniel Hook. Patrick Lawrenson. Patrick is back again. Patrick W. And I think it's everybody I've covered there. Welcome to the chat, folks. Good to see you on a Friday. Program announcement after this broadcast will be redirected automatically to Wednesdays with the Colonel on Friday with Ronaldo and myself. We'll talk about probably that DA advert plus some other things. So feel free. Hey, Richard Lemmer, welcome to you. Feel free to join us. By the way, Richard, what did you think of the conversation with Johan Bosman? I hadn't heard you comment about that. What did you think? Yeah, so Ronaldo and I will be on after this. And then after that, on Rugby Ascendant at 8:30 South Africa time, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, it's my Stormers on the road in Wales, in Newport, facing at Rodney Parade, facing the Dragons. And the Stormers need a win, a bonus point win, and a big one. Tomorrow, 3 games on tap on Rugby Ascendant. We'll be covering the Bulls. And then after the Bulls, it's the Sharks against Benetton. And then finally, the Lions versus Cardiff. Is that correct? think that's correct, yeah. The Bulls, who are the Bulls playing? I've forgotten who the Bulls are playing already. Anyway, 3 games tomorrow. Freelance Kate is back. Green Phantom is here. Welcome to you. Yes, Freelance Kate. I covered the George construction site as breaking news almost the moment that it occurred, within an hour or so of it occurring a few days ago, because I was supposed to be interviewing Athol Trollope, and he had no data connection. So while he was trying to connect to the data, I actually did a live broadcast, brought some images and some video in of that collapse in George, and I've been covering extensively. We'll also be talking about that today, too. The death count has risen, which is not a surprise, but it's still disappointing to hear that people have lost their lives. Heroic efforts by folks to do rescue operations in George. Thankfully, this was not a rescue scene that was fraught with any additional danger, like tremors from earthquakes or fires or violence, something like that. It was a peaceful scene, a sad scene, but a peaceful scene in which the first responders could actually do it there. Yeah, Patrick says he heard about the story of the George collapse here first before anywhere else. Yeah, I did have a breaking story on that, folks. In fact, I went back after the fact and changed the banner and created one for the George collapse. And so if you want to watch that, the entire video is still up. I didn't edit it. It's me for the first 24 minutes or so talking about George, showing images and discussing what happened there and reporting on it live. And then we have Athol Trollope come in. Also, if you just want to hear Athol Trollope, I edited that portion and then uploaded it as a separate video. So there's just a video of the interview with him, which runs for about 45 minutes. Building collapse looked hectic. How did anybody... yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. And Charles says, I heard it here first too. Well, thanks, Charles. You know, sometimes I find the breaking stories before other people are doing it, and it's just happenstance because I'm live at the time. Other times, my own viewers point these things out, and I'm very grateful for that, pointing out things as they're breaking. If I have anticipation there's going to be a big story, like, remember, roll the clock back a few years ago, who was the only YouTuber on the planet that was actually covering the first Senecal event live? That's right. I covered it live when no one else had any interest. Of course, after it all blew up and they flipped over a SAPS vehicle and the police acted out of control, driving an armored vehicle into the courthouse, then trying to charge the people who were protesting with domestic terrorism when it was actually the police who were acting in a terroristic fashion. I covered that event. But then after that happened, everybody had to cover, Senecal too. Oh, all looking for the clicks. But no one thought it was newsworthy except for me, and I believe it was Newsroom Africa or ENC. I think it was ENCA that was actually on the scene. SABC wasn't there. None of the newspapers were there. None of them covered that whole event when it broke the first time, when those 2 accused were taken into court and people were upset. I covered it because I thought it was newsworthy. Also, what media outlets cover the Black Monday protest anymore, or the bikers rally that we had against the lockdown, all these different things. I try to cover as many newsworthy things as possible. I do a pretty good job of anticipating what's newsworthy, but no one's perfect. You can't anticipate anything. I mean, like, for instance, I had no idea that a long existing German tongue twister about rhubarb pie would turn into, yes, and the word is Kuchen, which means cake, but it's a rhubarb pie. Nobody has rhubarb cake, it's rhubarb pie. Anyway, just a mix of the German word there. But I had no idea that would blow up into a huge TikTok phenomenon. That one kind of caught me off guard. So Charles said I watched Willem Petzer for that. The Saps were looking for crap there. They almost drove over a mother and 2 kids. You watched Willem Petzer what, for the first one or for the second one, Charles? I'm unaware that Willem Petzer was covering the first one. If he is, he must have covered it on Facebook. He covered it on Facebook. Anyway, Elton Bridge wants to hear more Giselle. Well, she's got a website. All right. Yeah. So there's just so much information needs to be relayed. It's impossible to do it in a stream. People must also do their own education. Yeah, no, people should do their own education. Absolutely. Oh, you're talking about the solar photovoltaic conversation. I enjoyed that conversation, and I hope people also did. Did you see Ramaphosa getting... yeah, we're going to talk about that. I saw it on 360 Experience. Okay, well, see, people are watching other programs, not mine. Yeah, I did see that, and I will do production on that, but I've been a little busy. I've been up since about 7 this morning working. I've been up before that, but at 7, started working, and I had to set up all my streams for Rugby Ascendant. That took about an hour to make the graphics, upload everything. And then I had to schedule the streams for Reverend Kenneth Mashway, and also for Bantu Holomisa, and then send them the Zoom links, and then the banners and all the stuff. And then I had to research the news. And in the course of researching news, I saw how Ramaphosa was heckled. I also saw how the SABC is censoring the DA for the flag advert, and several other stories are worthy of a video production. So I focused on doing the one that was the quickest and easiest to do, which is still relevant, and that's the flag censorship. And hopefully that'll catch fire and people will watch it. But I will do something on Ramaphosa as long as I'm not knackered by the time the day's over. But yeah, it is Friday. I can order some steamed crabs today. I haven't done that yet. That sounds good. Yeah, so the building collapse gets more interesting. 90% of South African, non-South Africans, builders gone underground, deleting all online sites. Yeah, no, you're right about that, John. I haven't found enough information. Yes, it's early today, and because Ronaldo and I are speaking today. Our broadcast from Wednesday was postponed. He was unavailable Wednesday, and Thursday I was unavailable because I had a pre-existing commitment yesterday to interview Dr. Corne Mulder. By the way, that was a fantastic interview as well. A lot of people turned up for that one. Thank you, everybody who did show up for that. Do appreciate people showing up for that one. And once again, let me just thank I'd say handful, but it's not a handful, 50 plus people currently here. Thanks to all you loyal viewers and to the people who recently discovered or rediscovered the fact that I'm still on air after all this time. And we surged over 15,000 subscribers finally. Something that in the early days, the salad days of me converting my channel into something productive back in 2020, we achieved in about 4 months, a little over 4 months, something like that. But this time it's taken over 3 years to get back to 15,000. It's really tough to overcome the oppression and the way things are hidden. But hey, people always like, well, it's because you don't have a South African IP address. I didn't have a South African IP address in 2020 when I had 2,500 new subscribers in a single Senecall broadcast. I didn't have a South African IP address when I was getting 10 to 15,000 views per day, 2,500 hours of content watched every day, and I was making over 60,000 Rand per month from advertising on my channel back then. There was no IP address for South Africa. Something has changed. The behavior of people on YouTube has changed. YouTube has also changed. It's become less oppressive, but it still remains oppressive. And people, maybe they just don't care for my shtick, and that's fine. Ant says the Corne Mulder interview was great. Well, thank you for that, Ants. Yep. And Charles says the same thing. All right, cool beans. Alter Bridge has been working from 7 to 11 every night. Sure makes life a drag. Well, that does suck. Well, Charles, I don't know that they've changed it a bit, but it's still not helping. I mean, just for comparison, I did a video. Now, you guys can argue if they were both as good or one was better than the other. That's fine. I don't know. I didn't watch the entirety of it, but after I saw that the Morning Shot had done a video, now they're up to 60,000 subscribers. That's awesome for them. But that also helps explain how they had 100,000+ views. But their video on Shell, which is a conversation between the two of them, which I think they did on a live, they just edited it and put that on. Came out at over 100,000 views, well over 100,000 views, and my video has 8,000. So while that's nice, I'd like to get back to the 100,000 view videos again. The biggest videos I've had, I think, on the channel have been a couple video clips that were given to me by a friend in South Africa when I was in South Africa on a visit. His friend whose trucks were looted. The news here, lots to talk about there. Oh, did I have that? Oh, that's all yesterday's news. I'll be darned. Okay, well, this was what I wanted to do yesterday, so let me run through this very quickly. This is not today's news, but I'm just going to run the headlines and mention 1 or 2 lines about analysis because yesterday I was supposed to cover this news, but I didn't get a chance to do the news because of all the other events. So I don't want to miss all these stories. So let me just cover these very quickly. First one out of the gate is yesterday at this time, there was no more contact with anyone trapped in the building. So hope was diminishing at this time yesterday in George, and that building collapse. Hope fading yesterday. Ramaphosa signed a new hate speech law for South Africa. Yeah, this is pretty crazy. According to statement, the Constitution sets out certain basic values, including human dignity, the achievement of equality, and advancement of human rights. The problem with that is that anybody can say anything and someone can claim it offends my dignity. I mean, the scumbag hate wanker who lied to Supersport and ended, well, he claims to have ended, I don't know if it was him, but ended the conversation between Nas Botha and I, offended my dignity. He also committed slander and libel and should be prosecuted for criminal acts. But, no one's going to do that. No one's going to do that. So, the offensive hate speech applies to any person who intentionally publishes, propagates, advocates, shares, or communicates anything to one or more persons in a manner that could reasonably be construed to demonstrate clear intention to be harmful or to incite harm. That's horseshit. That's total garbage. That is total garbage. that statute can be twisted to put any person you dislike in jail. Yep. The law does not consider actions taken in good faith during engagement as part of hate speech. So if in the course of a conversation, you're in a conversation, someone says something that offends someone else and hurts their feelings, you can be prosecuted for that. Wow, you guys buffering? Let's see what's going on here. Oh, I'm live. There was a little dip there for a moment. We're back. So don't sweat it. But yeah, so this is just total garbage, man. Total garbage. Yeah, so these actions include artistic creativity, performance or other expression, academic or scientific inquiry, and fair and accurate reporting or commentary in the public interest. Those are all subject to this law? That's ludicrous. Unbelievable ludicrous. Also includes interpretation and articulating or espousing of any religious conviction, tenet, belief, teaching, doctrine, or writing does not advocate hatred. So the Bible's opposition to homosexuality and condemnation of homosexuality, is that hate speech? Is the Bible now off limits in South Africa? Wow. South Africa has lost its freaking mind. This stuff must be rescinded. This is a repressive Soviet-esque state, South Africa. Wow. Now, Lady Pandora, I did a video on this yesterday, is urging for violence. Well, she didn't say that, but that's what she's actually calling for, in effect, urging university activism against Israel. Look at Lady Pandora. It looks like she needs a razor there. South Africa's Institution of Higher Learning had a special responsibility to show solidarity with Palestine because of South Africa's history, according to the Muslim convert. She was delivering a second annual Shireen Abu Akleh Memorial Lecture at the University of Johannesburg. Abu Akleh was an Al Jazeera journalist who was shot by Israeli soldiers while reporting the West Bank. Most Palestinians and reporters believe it was an assassination, although there's no evidence of that whatsoever. Yes, the theme of her lecture was the responsibility of the academy in a time of genocide. Really? So, Miss Jabba the Hutt, where is your responsibility for the Rohingya? And why weren't you a friend of the court filing an amicus brief in 2019 when the Gambia took Myanmar to the ICJ? Why have you not filed a genocide case against the Chinese Communist Party for its treatment of Uyghurs? Why have you not filed a genocide case for Darfur? Yeah, I think you need to sit down, shut up, and stop being such a hypocrite. Naledi Pandor. Well, cities are planning for the after-election party. There'll be no party. There'll be load shedding. That's what everyone's planning for. Yep, they're all planning for load shedding. The city of Tshwane said it's moving forward with plans to secure 1,000 megawatts of energy from a mix of sources outside of Eskom. Yeah, they have a pre-launch event with the Tshwane Economic Development Agency. Mayor Celius Brink said that the country has experienced a period of no load shedding. There's no guarantee the lights will stay on after the elections. And he is, of course, correct. There is no guarantee. Tebe Investments speaks out on the Shell case. Yes, arbitration's underway in dispute over how Tebe shares should be valued. Yes, the Tebe Investment Corporation, a wholly owned property of the Batu Trust, a money funneling operation for the African National Congress, which owns Tebe, said that it's pulled out of its involvement with the oil company 2 years ago, but there's a dispute between the parties about the value of shares. Well, let me just tell you what the shares are worth. Nothing. I'll give you 100,000 Rand for them, Tebe. I know you paid 73 million US, but I'll give you 100,000 Rand for those shares. Well, Rise Mzansi was marching in Durban about water. Yeah, Rise Mzansi Premier candidate Nonkuluku Keko Holongwane says the party will not work with the ANC. Wow, there you go. So that's some good news. Rise Mzansi has publicly declared it will not align with the ANC. Another party making that claim. Well, the incitement accused Kanyile is back in the fold with MK leadership. Zuma told him to bring this young man back. Bonginkosi Kanyile has been reinstated as interim youth leader at Zuma's behest after he was unceremoniously sacked as MK Youth League leader. Of course, Jacob Zuma has no authority in the MK party. He's not a member of it. So, wow. Well, Andre de Ruyter has risen up like Puxatawny Bill from inside, looking around to share his brilliance with us once again. He's saying that Eskom should focus on transmission lines and infrastructure. Well, it does need to focus on that, but it also needs to focus on generation of power. You can make lines, but if there's no juice flowing through them, what's the point of the lines? And vice versa. But Andre de Ruyter, like Puxatani Bill, has stuck his head up to try to enlighten us with his genius. Andre de Ruyter, the man who believes in solar power to the ends of the earth. Yes, the man who hates climate change, the man who hates carbon emissions. I suggest he stop talking. Well, Take-A-Lot has launched an unlimited free delivery. Wow, subscription. You got to subscribe, though, to compete with Amazon's arrival in South Africa. We'll offer 2 tiers, $39 a month for a standard subscription and $99 for a premium service. Both packages offer unlimited free deliveries, but the cheaper subscription has it limited to next-day deliveries only with a $500 minimum order. Premium package has unlimited free same-day and next-day deliveries as well. There you go. It extends to collections and select Mr. D orders. So Take-A-Lot, rising to the challenge, and the consumer shall benefit from increased capital competition in a capitalist marketplace. So Amazon bringing competition to Take-A-Lot, and we'll see what happens. Amazon SA sucks, nothing on there. Well, yeah, Arctic, I wouldn't expect much to be on there. Then they're rushed to go live. They should have waited a little bit longer. The ANC is in my blood, says Tokyo Sexual as he screams for votes. The illegitimately wealthy man in South Africa, owing to his patronage and connections to the ANC. Well, now this story I meant to cover yesterday, and I'll probably do a video on this one if I have time on Sunday, but competitors are whining about Fly Air. Their feelings are hurt. Fly Air apparently is, according to the competitors, owned by foreign entities. Now, Fly Air didn't violate any laws. They didn't corrupt their books. They didn't cook their books. They didn't harm passengers. They didn't steal anything. But apparently, the fact that maybe foreigners own it isn't fair. That means South African Airlines can't compete. Well, you can be owned by foreigners too, dingbats. That's right. Fly Air competitors push for its aviation license to be suspended over alleged foreign ownership. The central complaint by Airlink and Global Airways to authorities set for hearing on today is that foreign investors and shareholders predominantly own Fly Air, thus breaching South African laws and licensing conditions. No. Really? Owned by foreigners. What a tragedy that is. So let's see what some of the comments were. Ben Hawkins says, shame, sore losers. Bob Kuhn says, ask SA and the ANC why Turkish Airlines are providing lease assets and pilots for their operations. Aha! Might as well be foreign owned. Sour grapes. Besides, the foreign owners pay their obligatory ANC stipends in hard currency, probably in overseas bank accounts or good quality leather sofas. I thought that would be obvious. That's Bob Renard. Wow. Yes, and Denise Smith said that SA Public will be the losers, having to pay much more for flying. The competitive commission destroys everything competitive, making everything much more expensive. Bingo! Yes, Arctic, I'm aware of the laws too, but I don't really care. That is a violation of World Trade Organization norms and unacceptable. Unacceptable. I have no problem with who's bankrolling them. They provide on-time aircraft, safe flights, and a comprehensive schedule, and affordable. Well, the VIP thugs were in court, and they say that they were just trying to determine whether the car they pulled over was a threat to the main car. Of course, beating one of the South African National Defense Force cadets unconscious, just a consequence of pulling over. Wow, the 8 presidential protection officers who pulled over in a vehicle and accosted the driver and others claimed they wanted to check whether the driver was a threat. Paul Mashatili's escort. Here are the little cowards right there. Look at these thugs. Look at them. 8 thugs. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the 8 thugs. Wow, can't see the first one down there. He's hidden from the camera. Yeah, thugs, they should be in prison. eThekwini, a water and sanitation department employee, was murdered on municipal premises. This is out of control, folks. You can't even go fix services and you get murdered. 8 people were arrested for extortion and being possession of illegal firearms after they allegedly ambushed an independent contractor repairing water infrastructure in Inanda. An employee of the eThekwini Metro's water and sanitation department was shot dead inside municipality offices in Springfield. Wow, this is insane what's going on in South Africa. A South African stabbed passengers in an Alaskan cruise. Wow. Ntando Sogani, 35, an employee on the cruise ship, was arrested by the Federal Bureau of Incompetence after disembarking from the ship in Juneau. He's been arrested. Grabbed a pair of scissors and stabbed a woman multiple times in the arm, hand, and face. Stabbed two security guards who intervened, one in the head, and one in the back and shoulders. He was detained and held in the ship's jail before his arrest. Ships have jails. Cruise liners have jails. I didn't realize that. Doesn't make sense when foreign airlines are allowed to operate in South Africa with no limits. We need to protect the local airlines, remove all air license. Disagree. How are South African airlines harmed by foreign ownership? So I can't own shares and fly South Air? That's not free trade. That's protectionism. Okay, those were yesterday's stories. So let's get to today's stories. There's 78 people here now. Let's continue. It's now 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. South Africa time. Do you know where your children are? When I was a kid, every night on television, they'd pull that crap at 8 or 9 o'clock. It's 8 p.m. Do you know where your children are? Go to bed. Damn it. Wanted to watch the Fonz. Anyway, so let's get to the news for today. Lots to talk about. The Constitutional Court is busy, folks, and lots taking place there. I'm going to discuss some of that here. The Jacob Zuma case and his effort to get people thrown off the court, recused. The Con Court has dismissed Jacob Zuma's application for justices to recuse themselves. Good for the court. Constitutional Court today dismissed former President Jacob Zuma's application to have the justices recused from the appeal case by the Independent Electoral Commission. It's after the Electoral Court ruled that Zuma would be on the ballot for the elections representing Umkhonto Sizwe despite 15-month jail sentence. So, 19 days before the election, and we're still trying to sort this mess out. What is clear is that Jacob Zuma cannot get rid of the judges. Well, many arguments going on here, but this is the best statement of all of them. Unku Kaitobi, who's speaking to get rid of Zuma, said that he was convicted of a crime and therefore falls within Section 47. He says the IEC was correct to disqualify him. He was not disqualified by the Independent Electoral Commission. He was disqualified by the Constitution. And that is what I've said all along. So that advocate is hitting it correct. South African Broadcasting Corporation has censored the Democratic Alliance's burning flag advert in another expression of censorship of free speech in South Africa, a country that is terrified of free speech. You see, apparently sticks and stones can hurt your bones, but so can words. Yes, that's right. Oh, Chris, you don't understand the historical context and the evilness of the K word. You just don't get it. You don't understand how harmful and how marrow-sapping words can be. Really? I've never been called anything evil. Shut up. Oh my gosh. A country afraid of free speech. South African Broadcasting Corporation rejects the Democratic Alliance's burning flag and refuses to air it unless it's amended. How about we don't fund SABC unless it's restructured? That would be nice. Hey, that flag burning thing, here's a little advice, and it's pretty smart, prudent advice too. Comes from none other than Action SA, former Johannesburg mayor, and for the Democratic Alliance, Action SA President Herman Mashaba. He says, hey, the DA should have burned the ANC flag. 100%. 100%. I agree with Herman Mashaba. They should have burned the ANC flag. But of course, that would shortly thereafter result in a captured South African Human Rights Commission fraudulent race case by white liberals and black supremacists complaining that they burned the ANC flag. That's racist. The ANC does not represent black people. According to the ANC, it represents South Africans. Of course, we know that's a lie. Yep. Wow. The DA should have burnt the ANC flag, said Action SA leader Herman Mashaba in his interview on Sunday Times weekly podcast. I've been trying to get Herman Mashaba, but Michael Beaumont is not answering my messages. Now, that building in George, now 12 bodies confirmed. 12. 3 more were covered today thus far. This is a couple hours ago here. Really sad situation here. Minister of Health Joe Pala shows up to survey the situation in George. Nobody should tell us who should be our friends, says the ANC, after inviting a foreign political party to interfere in South African elections. ANC's national chairperson, Gwede Mantashe, the Minister of Minerals, has defended the party's decision to invite Zimbabwe's ruling party, ZANU-PF, as guest during the upcoming election. He was adamant the ANC would choose its own friends. Dude, we know you choose your own friends. They come from Tehran, Beijing, and Moscow. So it's not a surprise that you want to invite the fascist, totalitarian, racist government of ZANU-PF to come to South Africa. After all, you've learned all the good lessons from them on how to oppress South Africans, how to steal elections, how to discriminate against minorities, all the things that ZANU-PF under Robert Gabriel Mugabe perfected, or at least they think they perfected, brought to you proudly by ZANU-PF. And, you know, it's ironic because just a few days ago, senior South African politicians were whining that the European Union and the United States were being consulted and the IEC was talking to them about the conduct of the elections. How dare they interfere in elections? That's not interference. That's diplomacy. That's how diplomacy works. But this is clear election interference, a foreign political party interfering in the affairs of another country. And the ANC is fine with that as long as it suits their needs. But of course, that's because they're frauds and hypocrites. There you go. Two political parties' hopes are dashed. And the African transformation movement, they get a little bit of breathing space here. The Constitutional Court has dismissed the applications of the ACT, Labour Party, and AASD for another opportunity to register candidates. Electoral Court previously found that the parties were unprepared and their tardiness resulted in their inability to comply. The effect is the dismissal that Joseph Matuyunwa's Labour Party and the African Alliance for Social Democrats will not be able to participate. The African Congress for Transformation, ACT, I said ATM, ACT, the party of corruption accused Secretary General Ace Magashule will only be able to participate in the regions where it managed to submit a candidate list on time, so they'll have partial representation. Ace Magashule, the corruption accused. MK Party founder accuses Zuma's daughter of forging his resignation letter. Oh my goodness, this just gets better and better. Jabulani Kumalo. This guy is just fantastic entertainment. Mkhonto Sizwe Party founder Jabulani Kumalo has told the Constitutional Court that he has not resigned and says he suspects the letter confirming his purported exit was forged by Jacob Zuma's daughter, Dudu head Zuma Sambulua. I reasonably suspect that she forged it or is aware of the person that forged it because I have been informed by the IEC that it was sent to them by her. Kamala has sought to dispute Zuma's authority to engage in litigation against the IEC. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the dumpster fire known as Mkhonto Sizwe. Yes, the dumpster fire known as Mkhonto Sizwe. South Africa's entertainment for the 2024 elections, MK. Also, the frightening prospect of MK. Pay attention. More in this space. Justice Malala, the well-known writer, journalist, opinion maker in South Africa, in Financial Mail, pens an op-ed, and you're going to love this op-ed. It's hilarious. He says, musical chairs after May for South Africa's political leaders. Yes, some political leaders may be leaving the stage. But you know what? This is what he says about President Ramaphosa. President Cyril Ramaphosa, a pretty decent fellow who largely understands the idea of taking personal responsibility. I'm sorry, Justice Malala, what planet are you on, brother? What planet are you on? By the way, I mentioned that on Twitter and hashtagged him. Yeah, 3 hours ago I posted. And I said, President Cyril Ramaphosa, a pretty decent fellow who largely understands the idea of taking personal responsibility. I said, what alternate universe are you dwelling in? Decent fellow, starving infants in Nelson Mandela Bay, another 3-year-old dead in a pit latrine, nearly 90 murders a day, and he retains Beckett Chile. Customs and currency violations, perversions of justice at Pala Pala, those are just starters. Taking personal responsibility for what exactly? The July 2021 internal ANC insurrection in KZN, Pala Pala? Capital fleeing South Africa? Wow. The blinders you are wearing need to come off. The man is callous, uncaring, and incompetent. And that's what I have to say about it. That piece, that op-ed piece by Justice Malala. What an embarrassment for him to say that. Residents in Bathelaros get angry at Cyril Ramaphosa. And as usual, the thin-skinned toady strikes back. Residents hope for real presidential promises, not electioneering, according to Amanda Koza, who covered the story objectively for News 24. Yep, she said President Ramaphosa takes his latest presidential district development model to the Northern Cape's John Taulo Geretse district municipality. Good Lord, that's a mouthful. Yep, residents of Batharos village just outside Kuruman mixed feelings about the government. Yeah, they sure do, and they went after him. But the ANC, of course, is delivering food parcels and packets. Look at this, look at this. Yeah, Northern Cape residents get food packages at the Mbuzo. Yes, they held in Mbuzo. Mbizo. And Mbizo in Northern Cape, of course, Xhosa isn't spoken in Northern Cape by and large, but we'll use the Kosa word, the Imbizo. Yeah, the Imbizo. Yes, they in the Northern Cape, they brought them food parcels to come to the Imbizo to bribe them for votes. Of course, they claim that wasn't the case. The president is coming here today to close the chapter of presidential Imbizos on the 6th administration of the Northern Cape. 18 days for election. Now, this is what they said before Ramaphosa spoke. Listen to this. Now, this is a man worth at least $200 million US, none of which he earned, but he's worth $200 million. What this means is that when the president gets his salary on May 15th, that will be his last salary for this term. Whether he will get a salary as president in June will depend on all of you here. And I'm certain you don't want him to go without a monthly salary. Are you frickin' serious? The ANC is talking to desperately poor people who are in poverty because of the ANC in the Northern Cape, handing out food parcels to get them to show up at an Imbizo, and then they tell them that, well, you don't want the poor president not to have a salary. Well, of course we want him not to have a salary. We also like to see him stripped of his $200+ million fortune that he didn't earn. Yeah, unbelievable. Wow. We are here to listen to you and some of the challenges plaguing the community. Really? That doesn't sound like the ANC I know. Wow. So, at one point, Ramaphosa lost it. His feelings were really hurt. Ooh, brother. So, when it was time to raise concerns, tempers flared as residents lined up, at times pushing one another to raise their service delivery concerns. Ramaphosa's bodyguards, chief of staff, Defense Minister Tani Modise, and the police tried to manage the frustrated crowd, but they failed. There were simply too many people who wanted to speak to the president. It took a stern directive from Ramaphosa to quell the tension. Like a school principal cracking the whip on his pupils, Ramaphosa got up and took the mic and said, "This is my meeting. There is no one who must disrupt this meeting." Where is my iPad? Someone stole my iPad. "It is my meeting, not you that is talking too much over there. It is my meeting, so keep quiet. And if we don't keep quiet, we're not going to proceed. In fact, if we don't keep quiet, we're all going to go back home. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Where's my iPad?" Wow. Oh, a decent fellow, Justice Malala. A caring fellow, Justice Malala, who takes personal responsibility. Now it sounds like a thin-skinned clown who's afraid to talk to people. Yeah. Ramaphosa told the residents he understood their frustrations and that they all wanted to speak to him, but not everyone can have an opportunity to talk. There are over 15,000 of you here. I'm a person who likes dism. By the way, where'd the ANC get all the money to buy 15,000 food parcels? Where'd that money come from? Tehran. Where'd that money come from? Who knows? Yeah, so. When a person is stabbed in a tavern in Mopateng, and it takes an ambulance 3 to 4 hours to come to Mopateng, we need a clinic that remains open 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. We don't want a clinic that closes. My second issue is with the roads. Mr. President, we have to drive on the pavements in Mopateng because when it rains, we cannot go anywhere. The roads are bad. There are many pending cases relating to corruption and fraud committed by government officials, but they're not resolved up to today. We see people being arrested daily in Gauteng, so the mandate we are giving you after coming back in June is that the first thing you need to do is ensure that you restructure the Hawks. No, you moron. The first thing you need to do is not vote for the ANC. He's not going to change anything. There's no gain in it for the ANC to prosecute crimes. They're part of the criminal syndicates. They profit from it. Who was behind the illicit cigarette trading? Who was behind banning cigarettes during the lockdown? For what reason? No science. No science behind it. Seriously? Unbelievable. Oh, wow. Well, World Rugby confirms rule changes trying to undermine the prowess of the Springbok scrum. Well, we'll see what happens now that they've undermined South Africa. We just can't have South Africa keep winning World Cups. We can't have that. World Rugby have announced that teams will no longer be able to opt for the scrum when they receive a free kick and one of 3 law changes designed to make rugby union more entertaining. Yeah, okay. We'll see. Nigel Owens previously was concerned that the game is depowering the scrum, and I agree. Understandably, South Africans were outraged, given that it could negate the threat of one of the 2023 Rugby World Cup winning Springboks' biggest weapons. Second law change relates to another hotly debated topic, and that's the Antoine Dupont law. That's right. They're going to change that. And the third change is the crocodile rule, which is probably good for safety of players. But and they're doing it this year, so we're about to go into it. In Botswana, President Masisi says he will defend Botswana against De Beers BHP Anglo bid. They will not allow themselves to be made redundant or irrelevant in a transaction. He's articulated a firm stance on the country's involvement and interest in De Beers, the diamond division caught in the middle of a 700 billion rand potential tie-up between its parent, Anglo, and the larger rival, Australia's BHP. We remain laser focused on the developments because we are clearly an interested party. No way we would allow ourselves to willingly be made redundant or irrelevant, so the Botswana will respond in ways we are protective of our interests. Nothing can be done. You're in contracts. Botswana exists. It's a joint venture. All they can do is divest themselves. Well, Zimbabwe finds a business for not using the official exchange rate for their ZiG. Apparently, the business zagged. Zimbabwe will find businesses using inflated exchange rates as the government battles to maintain the value of the newly introduced and useless, worthless, gold-backed currency, the ZiG. Yep. Any business using an exchange rate higher than the official rate of 13.5 per dollar will be liable to 200,000 ZiG, $14,815 fine. Well, that's one way to make money. Steal it. Suspected piracy attack in the Gulf of Aden raises concerns about a growing Somali piracy. European naval force detained 6 suspected pirates on Friday after they opened fire on an oil tanker traveling through the Gulf of Aden, likely part of a growing number of piracy attacks emanating from Somalia. Oh, geez, things just keep getting worse in that part of the world, do they not? Somali government is calling on the United Nations to withdraw its political mission. Wow. Somali government has asked the UN Security Council to terminate the UN political mission in Somalia that's been helping the war-torn country since 2013. News about the letter requesting the departure of the 360-member UN mission in Somalia when its mandate expires in October has been circulating through social media for about a day. Government officials requested anonymity because they were not authorized to speak to the media. But apparently they want to get rid of the UN. Nigeria's Senate has proposed the death penalty for drug trafficking. Ooh, a la Thailand. Thursday, proposed significantly toughened penalties for drug trafficking, making the death penalty the new maximum sentence through a law amendment. A serious effort to crack down on drug trading in Nigeria. A plane skidded off the runway in Senegal, injuring 11, but no one perished in this. A plane with 78 passengers skidded off a runway before takeoff at Senegal's main airport Tuesday this week. The Blaise Diagne Airport said an investigation was underway to determine the cause of the accident, which occurred at about 1 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, as the Transair-owned Boeing 737-300 chartered by Air Senegal was preparing to fly to Mali. Airport statement said it activated emergency protocols to evacuate the passengers. The airport was closed at the time that this was reported, but no fatalities, thank goodness. Tunisia has detained prominent activist Sadia Mosbah over financial crimes. Tunisia's public prosecutor detained Sadia Mosbah, a prominent activist and head of non-governmental group that defends the rights of migrants. Human rights groups said hours after President Kais Saied accused some groups that defended sub-Saharan migrants of treason. Wow. So this is yet another, more likely, illegitimate arrest of an opposition figure, which has been going on for some time under the fascist totalitarian dictatorship of Kais Saied. The African Union is holding a fertilizer summit in Nairobi. Morocco is participating. Aims to advance commitments made by African leaders to boost agricultural productivity, food security, and environmental sustainability. And the African leaders have said that it will take $15 billion to get this program running properly. Where's that money going to come from? A massive increase in fertilizer use. African heads of state meeting in Kenya vowed to triple production and distribution of certified quality organic, inorganic fertilizers by 2034. And of course, that's an important statement because we just recently found that the Kenyan government was selling fake fertilizer to farmers and charging them for real fertilizer. Myanmar's military junta reiterates its election plan after the Cambodian prime minister tries to get access to imprisoned Suu Kyi. Myanmar's military chief discussed plans to hold an election in the country with former Cambodian leader Hun Sen in talks this week, even as the ruling junta faces unprecedented pressure from an expanding armed resistance. Hun Sen, who stepped down as Cambodia's prime minister last year after 4 decades in charge, said he had asked junta leader Min Aung Hlaing if he could speak to detained Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi, who's been in prison. The septuagenarian has been locked up illegitimately by a military junta that overthrew the government. A defiant Benjamin Netanyahu tells Joe Biden to piss off. Says Israel can stand alone after Biden has played blackmail against the Israeli state, the only democratic state in the Middle East. The rupture between the two allies comes as talks stalled on a U.S. push for a ceasefire that would head off a ground assault around Rafah. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu defiantly vowed the country would stand alone if its closest ally followed through on threats to suspend arms shipments. Speaking Thursday after President Biden's warning sparked fury and infighting among senior figures, Netanyahu said Israel would fight with our fingernails in order to pursue its proclaimed goal of eliminating Hamas. And more power to Israel in that effort. More power to them. Russia has made a huge breakthrough in Ukraine. So Joe Biden's war continues, and the Ukrainians are under pressure. Russia has advanced into Krasnovorivka in the Donetsk region of Ukraine, pushing troops further back and entering the site of an industrial plant. Russian troops continue to make advances in the Donetsk region after storming the area through the site of an industrial plant. Vladimir Putin's forces make gains in Krasnokova, according to Lieutenant Colonel Nazir Voloshin, a spokesman for Kordstia, a group of Ukrainian operational strategic troops. The 59th Brigade of the enemy was blocked and is still there. So the Russians are in control and advancing in Ukraine. An alternative for Germany, the AfD politician, has been convicted of hate speech for simply reporting government information. Wow. Germany has lost the plot. AfD politician convicted for warning about gang rapes. The Verden court in Lower Saxony, Niedersachsen, has upheld a verdict against Rothenburg AfD leader Maria Theresa Kaiser for incitement to hatred. The 27-year-old was found guilty in the appeal hearing on Monday of inciting hatred against Afghan local workers. For this, she now has to pay 100-day fines, plus a fine of £60 or 60 euros for a total of 6,000 euros. In Germany, you're considered to have a criminal record if you're sentenced to pay more than 90-day fines. So this is intentionally designed to turn her into a criminal so she cannot serve in Parliament, in the Bundestag. The charge is based on a post that Kaiser had spread on her social media accounts in August of 2021. In it, she wrote, Afghanistan refugees, Hamburg SPD mayor for unbureaucratic acceptance, welcoming culture for gang rape, asking a question. Yep. She linked in an article showing that Afghans in Germany were particularly heavily involved in gang rape. Wow. And Elon Musk said, are you saying the fine was for repeating accurate government statistics? Was there anything inaccurate in what she said? Nope. She says her trust in the rule of law is shaken, as is mine. This is, you can't run up against the leftist cabal. This is going to lead to civil war. People are going to die because of this stupidity if this continues. The world is told to embrace 4 massive geomagnetic storm today. There are cloud cover here with rain, so hopefully that'll shield us a bit in central Pennsylvania. It's the biggest in 20 years. It could affect mobile networks, GPS satellites, power grids, and might explain why you're buffering. An uncommonly powerful solar storm may occur in outer space Friday, the first in 20 years if it comes to fruition. NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, issued a severe geomagnetic storm watch late Thursday, the first such alert since 2005. But of course, we all know that solar storms are caused by climate change. Climate change, not that big flaming ball of gas. No, not Joe Biden, our son. Ladies and gentlemen, the Federal Bureau of Investigation planted evidence to give the impression that Donald Trump committed crimes as part of the illegitimate, immoral, and shameful conduct of the Biden regime in a pre-dawn raid when the media were present to embarrass the former president and divide and destroy this country. The FBI caught planting evidence in the Mar-a-Lago raid. Judge has postponed the trial indefinitely. Glenn Beck reporting on this matter. It doesn't matter whether you hate or love Donald Trump. What's being done to our former president by our government should disturb every single American, and it should. Reports have revealed the FBI agents placed cover sheets onto allegedly classified documents found during their raid in order to make the photo they took look scarier. The cover sheets indicated the highest levels of secrecy, and without question, the media then fell right in line and used the doctored evidence to slam Trump. Wow. Now the federal judge presiding over Trump's classified documents trial has delayed the trial indefinitely. They've postponed the document trial because they've said there are too many things here that don't add up. There are too many things the FBI did that they never did, nor should they have ever thought of doing. That is at best propaganda. And once again, we can see the demonic effort to destroy Donald Trump. These people are unbelievable. Joe Biden's Rafale warning has sent shockwaves through the global community. This lunatic. U.S.-Israeli relations have reached a critical crossroads that shows that even President Biden's staunch support can reach its limits when it starts to conflict with wider American national security and moral interests and his own dicey political position. It doesn't conflict with any U.S. national security interest. We have no national security interest in propping up a terrorist known as Hamas. That's not in our interest. So this is a lying news story by CNN. and Stephen Collinson is lying to the public. Wow. Unbelievable. Joe Biden stopping arms shipments to Israel. The New York Times, in an op-ed by Bret Stephens, is honest and, dare I say, objective. The New York Times, wow, the gray lady. President Biden just made his biggest blunder. The tragedy in Gaza is fundamentally the result of Hamas's decisions to start the war in the most brutal way possible, to fight it behind and beneath civilians, to attack border crossings through which humanitarian aid is delivered, and to hold on cruelly to Israel's 132 remaining hostages, living or dead. Whatever else the arms cutoff might accomplish when it comes to Israel, it is both a propaganda coup and a tactical victory for Hamas that validates its decision to treat its own people as human shields. And it emboldens Hamas to continue playing for time, especially in the hostage negotiations, with the idea that the longer it holds out, the likelier it is to survive. And that is the gift that Joe Biden has just given to Hamas. Joe Biden, the Hamas supporter. Yeah, what else can you call the guy? Well, the Biden administration is also out of control, trying to illegally seize control of state National Guards. Biden's National Guard power grab slammed by former general as governors put up rare united front. Guard leaders say shifting troops to other military branches needs okay from governors. Proposal that would reassign Air National Guard troops to the Space Force without consent of governors is an existential threat to the force that would erode operational efficiency and eliminate a long-standing precedent. Legislative Proposal 480 was submitted to the Senate Armed Services Committee by the Department of Defense in an effort to bolster Space Force, U.S. military's youngest branch created during the Trump administration. The move would override a long-time tradition that requires the Department of Defense to acquire gubernatorial approval before transferring Guard members to another military branch. This is really a wholesale harvesting of the units, the people, the structure, the equipment, the facilities, and transferring them out of the National Guard from the governors and just placing them in the active component Space Force, said Major General Francis McGinn, president of the National Guard Association. This is absolutely unacceptable. This bill should be defeated. Shameful. Well, federal court has denied Hunter Biden, his appeal in Delaware is shot down. United States Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit refused to throw out Hunter Biden's indictment on federal gun charges in a court document released Thursday. The president's wayward son is set to stand trial next month in Delaware. The defendant in this criminal case appealed 3 pretrial orders entered on April 12th, 2024, denying his motions to dismiss the indictment. This appeal is dismissed because the defendant has not shown the district court's orders are appealable before final judgment. Well, bad news for Hunter. Hey, Hunter got high. Hunter got high. Hunter got high. Oh, my goodness. Judge Merchan, in the crooked trial against Donald Trump taking place in New York, admonishes the defense attorneys for not objecting when he allowed Stormy Daniels to tell fairy tale, salacious stories about Donald Trump. He blames the attorneys. Of course, every time the attorneys open their mouth, he shuts them up and tells them to be quiet for fear of contempt of court. Judge Merchan chides Trump's lawyers for not objecting more during the Stormy Daniels bogus testimony. Judge Juan Merchan called out former President Donald Trump's defense team during their motion for mistrial, telling them that there were many times they could have objected to Stormy Daniels' testimony but did not. For the second time this week, Merchan expressed surprise that Trump's lawyers had not objected more when Daniels was on the stand. And for the second time this week, Merchan rejected their motion for mistrial. I would like to make a motion for the disbarment of Judge Merchan. There you go. Let's make that motion. The Veterans Administration improperly paid bonuses to people. What's that? We have Hunter got high. That's right. Hey, Patrick. 26 months. Thank you for that, Patrick. VA improperly approved $11 million in bonuses for executives Some executives yet to repay the bonuses, which exceed $100,000 in some cases, despite an order from the VA secretary. Veterans Affairs leaders improperly handed out $11 million in bonuses to more than 180 senior executives last year alone. The bonuses came from funds that Congress earmarked to recruit and keep staff needed to process billions of dollars. So the Veterans Administration is supposed to be hiring people to help veterans who are disabled like myself, but instead they're rewarding themselves with cash bonuses illegally in violation of the budget. Wow. How about some criminal proceedings here? Yep. On the Biden watch, everything happens on the Biden watch. The Supreme Court says cops can keep your stuff. Now, this is anathema to a free society. This asset forfeiture garbage the Supreme Court has upheld at the so-called conservative court has betrayed the Constitution and liberty. The GOP-appointed majority sweeps far more broadly than necessary in declining to grant minimal constitutional protections, according to Sotomayor. And for once, I agree with the Latina on the court. Supreme Court's Republican-appointed majority yet again went further than it had to. This time the court approved stingy safeguards for civil forfeiture proceedings when law enforcement takes your personal property, such as your car, that's allegedly tied to a crime, even if you're innocent. In declining to grant minimal safeguard, Justice Sotomayor wrote in dissent, the majority sweeps far more broadly than the narrow question presented and hamstrings lower courts from addressing myriad abuses of the civil forfeiture system. Ladies and gentlemen, asset forfeiture laws are immoral and they're unconstitutional, yet the Supreme Court continues to uphold them. Why? Why does the state allow the state to steal your assets on the fraudulent or spurious claim that you've committed some sort of crime? They don't have to prove anything. They pull a motorist over and he goes, well, you have too much cash. So they seize it and people never get their money back. And then they use that to fund police departments. This is immoral. The Supreme Court is wrong. Unbelievable. Boeing's historic Starliner launch. Oops, God bless it. Sorry. Boeing's historic Starliner launch has been delayed until at least May 17th, another week after the valve issue. The long-awaited first crewed mission of Boeing's Starliner will be delayed for more than a week after engineers identified an issue that halted launch preparations on Monday. Starliner's next opportunity to lift off is on May 17th at 6:16 p.m. Veteran NASA astronauts Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore are already taking their seats aboard the capsule when the operations team called for a scrub Monday night. United Launch Alliance mission is not happening, maybe on the 17th. Hillary Clinton, speaking of Puxatani Bill popping up and making an appearance, Hillary Clinton apparently must be on medication because she spoke rationally. In an interview on MSNBC show Morning Joe, she criticized student protesters, saying that they were ignorant of the history of the Middle East, the United States, and the world. I have many conversations, as you've had, with a lot of young people the last many months now. They don't know very much at all about history of the Middle East and, frankly, about history in many areas of the world, including our own country. She went on to imply that young people don't know that had Yasser Arafat, the former leader of the Palestinian Authority, accepted a deal brokered by her husband, Bill Clinton, with Ehud Barak in the 1990s, there would be a Palestinian state. Yep. Oslo peace process. Hillary Clinton speaks rationally and cogently. Something must have happened. They must have put her on the right medication. Virginia schools are renaming back to honor Stonewall Jackson, Robert E. Lee, and others after the illegal method used by school boards to rename schools during COVID when the public couldn't participate. Yep. School board members in Virginia's Shenandoah County voted early today to restore the names of two schools that previously honored Confederate leaders 4 years after the names had been removed. The 5-1 vote came hours after hours of public comment during the meeting that began Thursday evening from people speaking both sides of the issue. Yep. So now they've got it. They've renamed it. In the years since the 2020 killing of George Floyd, the names of Confederate leaders, Confederate monuments, and symbols have been removed from numerous schools, universities, military facilities, and even Washington's National Cathedral windows. Not to mention the removal of Union soldiers and national military heroes from all over the country, and even the removal of the bust of Abraham Lincoln from Cornell Library, which I reported on, and they were forced to put back. The hatred of white men and of Christians by racial supremacists is out of control in this country. Former El Paso border agent has been sentenced for selling fake immigration papers for $5,000. Geez, we got threats all around us, even in uniform. Yep, Thursday, Fernando Castillo, 42, was sentenced to 18 months in prison, 1 year of supervised release, and a $100 special assessment after pleading guilty to one count of bribery. Why is he only paying $100? Why doesn't he pay $100,000? How many people did he get $5,000 from? According to court documents, he asked an undocumented migrant, that's a criminal alien invader, for $5,000 in exchange for promising to get him fraudulent papers that would let the migrant stay in the U.S. He was arrested in June 2023. He met with the migrant while he was temporarily assigned to U.S. Customs Border Protection Facility in Gateway South Boulevard. Fernando Castillo engaged in conduct that betrayed the oath he took to faithfully serve the citizens of the United States, said Special Agent in Charge John Morales. His behavior should not take away from the outstanding work done every day by the vast majority of law enforcement. Well, the conduct engaged by the President of the United States betrays his oath every day, and nobody's calling for him to go to jail. A repatriated New York City resident who was part of ISIS is charged with completing ISIS terror training. A U.S.-born woman whose family is just repatriated from Syria is accused of completing ISIS training, including how to fire an AK-47 when she was 18. Halima Salman, who is now 25, was arrested at JFK Airport on Tuesday after she and her family were repatriated as part of an extensive State Department effort to bring back American citizens held in Kurdish-run Syrian detention centers. Salman is identified in a criminal complaint as al-Khattab al-Mujar, was also identified in the complaint, has been charged with knowingly receiving military-type training for ISIS, which carries a sentence of up to 10 years. Her lawyer argued that the Brooklyn federal court, that her father, who was later killed in a rocket attack, manipulated the 17-year-old into joining the armed extremist group. Halima was a teenager. She had no idea their father had any sentiments that were pro-ISIS. In October 2016, Solomon and her family flew out of JFK on a flight bound for Istanbul by way of Moscow. Once in Turkey, she is alleged to have made her way to the militant-controlled region of Syria, where she married an ISIS member and joined Nazarba Kataba, a female-only military unit. Well, no sympathy. Life imprisonment or deportation. A NASA contractor has made a warning about that Starliner flight. NASA contractor warns that Boeing launch must be stopped before something catastrophic happens. NASA needs to redouble safety checks and re-examine safety protocols to make sure the Starliner is safe before something catastrophic happens to the astronauts. Wow. The president of ValveTech said that the buzzing sound heard now during the now scrubbed launch could indicate something seriously wrong with the transport capsule. Well, that's frightening. I think they better take that seriously. The war on energy continues, and Wyoming's economy is being hit by it badly. Coal production nosedives with more trouble ahead. Stockpiles of coal-burning utilities are flush following a mild winter and increasing competition for renewables and natural gas. Wyoming coal mines are likely to face extinction-level headwinds even before the prospect of illegitimate new federal pollution rules take effect in 2032. Wow. Look at all those cars full of coal. That used to be South Africa, but not anymore. So here is the chart, U.S. electric market share, 2019 to 2024. Of course, 2024 only runs a few months now, up until middle of April, or beginning of May, excuse me. And you can see the percentage that electricity is provided. Back in 2019, in January, 35% electricity generation was done by coal. Today, it's 10 to 15%. Coal is collapsing because of the environmental wackos and the war on energy. Well, it's pretty unheard of, folks. It's pretty unheard of. Caitlin Clark draws 13,000 fans to Indiana's WNBA game. What a bonanza for the WNBA in Indiana, the Fever. Wow. 13,000 people showed up to watch her win debut. She didn't have a particularly good game, but her team won. More than 13,000 fans were in attendance as Caitlin Clark made her home preseason debut in an 83-80 victory for the Indiana Fever over the Atlanta Dream. The atmosphere inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis belied the less important nature of a preseason game, the crowd whooping loudly as Clark made her first home bucket on a driving layup in the first half. She finished with just 12 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, but had a difficult shooting night, going 4 for 12 and 2 of 9 from three-point range. She said, "I don't think I was that effective." Well, I agree with her. So here she is, getting a layup right there. Caitlin Clark. Tiny little women's basketball in that big-ass basket where anybody can sink that thing. Anyway, WNBA, 13,000 people show up for a preseason game. They don't get 13,000 people for the championship game. Pennsylvanians are on the hook now as it becomes another state violating our personal liberties. Pennsylvania will ban cell phone use while driving and require police to collect traffic stop data. Wow. Pennsylvania will join the majority of states that ban motorists from handling a cell phone for almost any purpose while driving, as backers of the legislation hope to reduce distracted driving accidents and deaths after nearly 2 decades of pressing the measure. Yeah, no, all this does is reduce liberty and steals liberty from law-abiding citizens. Well, an American otter, river otter, has returned to Pennsylvania watershed after a 100-year absence. How did that happen? All on his own? An American otter, a river otter, has been spotted in the Ridley Creek watershed after more than a century of absence. And you can see them caught on the wildlife camera right there. Exciting development marks a significant milestone in regional conservation efforts and underscores the importance of protecting natural habitats for wildlife. The Williston Conservation Trust said in a release, nonprofit focuses on 28,000 acres within the watersheds of Ridley, Crum, and Darby Creeks. Wow. American river otters were ubiquitous in most waterways across North America before Europeans arrived. They were gone by the early 1900s, a casualty of fur trapping and habitat destruction. In the 1980s, there were focused reintroduction efforts, which led to a population rebound in American river otter in northern Pennsylvania. The sighting is monumental, the trust said, as the otters are highly sensitive to pollution and habitat degradation and need healthy water conditions. Wow. That's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. The river otter is back near Philadelphia. That's pretty wild. And there you have it, folks. That's the news for today. How y'all doing? We're about 20 minutes away from Ronaldo and I going on to that program. What's this? Let me go back and see what people are saying here in the chat. Yes, freelance Kate, I did talk about the collapse. Charles said he saw, did Saps drive with their vehicle on both? Saps drove a vehicle into the courthouse. I saw it in the first Seneca incident. Okay, and are the fact checkers from Facebook moonlighting on YouTube? Yeah, it could be the sun, solar storms. Yep. All right. Do you think someone twisted Ramaphosa's arms? I don't know about that. Back to live again, touching wood, not Lady Pondor's head. Oh, my goodness. Okay. It's like sweeping litter down the drains and wonder why KZN is flooding. Yeah, exactly. Possible aurora visible in the Northern Hemisphere tonight. Yep, that's correct, because of the solar storm. Largest solar storm since 2005. I guess you got to that before I did. Okay. Tokyo's Sex Wally. Air license law limits foreign ownership. Correct. ASL from Ireland has been bankrolling Safair for years. Fly Safair offers the cheapest price and has been in the case for years. Used them so many times, others are greedy. Not just that, they are reliable. I've never had I don't think I've had a late departure with them yet. Oh, James Bowie. So, how will the ANC get the B grift? Yeah, exactly. James Bowie's here. Shabbat Shalom, he says. Okay. The best friends money can buy. That's right. Tehran. Light Rain says Arctic is great, but missing Hendo. Could you do some replies in all caps? That's funny. Justin AAVDW. Hi, Chris. Can you maybe get the ACC leader for an interview? Who's the ACC? I don't know who the ACC is. Let me look them up. ACC. Alliance of Citizens for Change. Never heard of them. Founded by expelled DA and former Speaker of the House. Okay. Do you have a contact for them, Justin? Do you have a contact for them? I've never heard of the Alliance for Citizens. I'll interview them. I mean, I'm not aware of them doing anything wrong. Huh. Problem is they focus on social justice, which is a fantasy. So, but I'll talk to them. Food parcels probably only for certain groups. Yeah, I'm sure they didn't give out 15,000. Round Post was heckled by Kuruman residents. Yep, he told them to shut up. Yep. Yep. What happened to the family meeting? Exactly. Patrick says, Psalm 360, I would have gotten up and said, nobody is leader but God, and would have walked out. Yep. Shut up. No, it wasn't the cat in the hat. Patrons here. Can't join. House full of people. Love y'all. Oh, sorry to hear that, Petra. Well, maybe that's good. You have a house full of people. People treat the ANC like the village chief, like they have no choice. Exactly. Jonathan says Alan Windy was the official messiah of South Africa, the COVID messiah. Yeah, he was. He was all into the oppression. Yep. Cannot get blood from a stone. It's true. Green Phantom says, I think the Zig is good. I think the Zag is better, says Charles. Off-grid living in Spain. As a South African living in Spain, this is the best place to get news in South Africa. Well, thank you, off-grid living in Spain. Whereabouts in Spain are you at? In the Costa Brava? Oh, there you are. In Valencia. Okay, you already answered that question. Oogle those senoritas. Okay. Biggest political event in Europe, the Eurovision Song Contest, has allowed the harassment of the Israeli entry. Wow. Yeah, that's Eurovision is crap. It's crap. AFD is the bad. Yeah, and the AFD is the bad guy. Yeah, the AFD is the bad guy after the AFD politician reads the facts. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth. I'm entitled to the truth. You can't handle the truth. Stormy sun, stormy lies. Exactly. Okay, what else you got here? Brian Lawrence there. Hey, Trump is bad because he hurt my feelings. Hunter got hunted. Oh, that Afro Man thing is awesome, man. Let me see. Hunter got high. Hunter got high. I gotta be careful of copyright here, but we'll try it anyway. Oh, man, Hunter got high. That is so good, man. La da di da. Whoa. Okay, I don't want that. That's an advert. We got to get rid of that. Oh my gosh, this is too funny.
Shout out to Bass Records. Hey, yo, Hunter.
Yo, Hunter. Oh my goodness, that is so funny.
He was gonna get his laptop fixed, but Hunter got high.
Oh, it's too good, man. Hunter got hunted. Propaganda reports using Israel genocide, but nothing in action 7 October. Exactly, Kurtz. Exactly. Zelensky needs to negotiate a peace deal. He has already lost far more territory than Russia actually wanted to start one. Yeah, exactly. He's losing Joe Biden's war. Clive says, I saw 360 YouTube where Ron posed a toll crowd and Kerman. Yeah, I will cover that. I can only cover so many things at once, folks. I don't have backers behind me. I don't have a media studio. It's me doing all the production, all the analysis, all the review, all the editing, and all of the on-air personality. Nothing new that ANC has always bribed their voters, says Doring Hawk. That's true, but they don't even try to hide it. Debbie here. Should we be worried? Worried about what, Debbie? Canada. No, you don't want Canada. Ooh, Canadians have lost the plot. Vilma Rasmus is here. Chris Ehlers is back. Graham is back. Janet Lydian from South Carolina. CR doesn't have arms anymore. They've been twisted to me. Mike is here. PA just distracting from real issues with cell phones and river otters. Exactly. You know, instead of talking about little Josh Shapiro's $3 billion increase, an 8% budget increase, when the rest of us are taking a budget hit from inflation and no rising incomes, they want to steal more money from us. Despite the fact that the state of Pennsylvania is sitting on a $14 billion nest egg. Yeah, that's right. $14 billion they've stolen out of our pockets already. Yeah. 14 parish. What is an update on the George building? Hear about Philippe swanning around. No, not heard about that, Declan. How's it going? A lot of names I haven't seen in a while. Stuart Lennox is back. Wow. A lot of folks coming back here. What's going on? Hunter got high. Yeah, exactly. You must know Cheech and Chong.
He wasn't gonna show up.
Canada does suck. Yep, it does suck. It used to be a wonderful place. It used to be an amazing country, but not anymore. Not anymore. Nope, not anymore. South African education is BS when people are swayed to vote. Yeah, no, exactly. And Hunter got high. Gosh bless it. This is really slow response. What is going on over here? Come on, YouTube. Wake up. Wake up, you turd balls. There we go. Finally. All right, cool. Anyway, yeah, they must hold those community liaison officers accountable. Yep. CME has reached Earth. Expect solar wind. Is that a coronal mass ejection? Is that what you're talking about, Shawnee? Yeah, nothing will happen. Nothing is happening to any of the evil people, but it does happen to the good people. The people simply report the facts. Anyway, but thanks to the people who've been watching my video. Let's see how that's doing. SABC censors the DA. Oh, not great. It's doing okay. 211 views. So it's a start. It's been up for over an hour now. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah. Well, in 10 minutes, we'll be live with Ronaldo on Wednesdays with the Colonel. So, here's a solar fart. Chris says, I'll just watch now. Okay, I'll watch just now. Okay, you mean that other video. Yeah, no, I've done a lot of videos this week. It had been a while because of my election campaign. I have been doing regular videos, but let's see. Let's start May 6th, blaming the DA for Cape Town shortcomings. That was a response to one of the viewers. May 7th, I uploaded the interview with Athol Trollop when I edited it out from the rest of it. The BE shakedown of Shell on May 7th. ANC elites begging for votes, May 8th, Tokyo Sexuality. Now, Lady Pondor encouraging campus misconduct, 9, and SABC censoring. That's 6 videos in the past 4 days. So, there you go. There you go. So, Chris got nuked. How do you mean Chris got nuked? I'm still here. Thank goodness for weekend to play catch-up. Wasn't there a fire or electrical damage South African? I don't recall. How many posters for the election have you guys seen in your area? Pretoria's way down. Yeah, I'm sure that a lot way down. People don't have the money. They're expensive, too. Usually they're plastered everywhere, but the ANC doesn't have money. I mean, you can only buy so many 3-piece streetwise T-shirts and, food parcels and posters. You got to make a decision. What are you going to buy? Yeah, Tokyo Sexuality must go. I don't disagree with that one at all. That's for darn sure. What's going on over here? I've got some text message. Let me see what this is. I got to stop at the Mutual Admiration Society over here. Along the center freeway, plenty EFF. Oh, okay. I hadn't seen any EFF stuff, but I'm not on the ground there, so I'm at the whim of what people send me or what I see in the press. So, yeah. Anyway, 76 people here now. I wonder how many of you will stay as we go over to Wednesdays with the Colonel. Don't forget, we still got 2 more broadcasts today. We've got Wednesdays with the Colonel coming up in 9 minutes. And then after that, we've got the Stormers on the road in Newport, Wales, taking on the Dragons. And a must win for the Stormers, a must bonus point win. They're now at 9 wins and 6 losses. They need to win out to finish this season in good shape. Anyway, yeah, so there you go. Can't support. No, that's fine, Arctic. You don't have to support him, but you can come watch the rugby after that if you want. Yeah, so Arctic never did answer the question whether he was flying VFR or he was on ILS. No load shedding, but billions of rands worth of diesel. Yep, yeah, exactly. That's what's going on. Okay, don't support Wine Farm Rugby. Oh my goodness, Chris. Oh my goodness. You're gonna diss the best team in South Africa. If you alternate on your channel, then I'll support. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. What do you mean, Arctic? Off day. Oh, you're not flying today. Only the Bulls. Chris, I cover the Bulls too. And I'll be broadcasting them tomorrow morning. But I cover all South African rugby, so can't do that. Only 19 days, 20 days actually. So it'll be after the election to get the load shedding. So it's really 20 days, Maryland. Anyway, folks, yeah, so we'll be live or not. Let me just double check and make sure he hasn't begged off on me. He does that sometimes. So let me see. All right. What is this? Boy, someone said women are never happy. Oh, that's not good. She asked me for a dick pic, so I sent her a picture of my boss. I don't understand why I'm getting screamed at. That's actually funny. All right, Ronaldo has just walked in the door. So, all right, 1 week on Ronaldo's channel, 1 week on your channel. What? Is that what you do? I thought you didn't like Ronaldo. So all your posts for streams, I've been very busy. Well, and that doesn't even include so let's take a look at the lives that we've done here just of late. I think we've done 9 election interviews already, and I'm setting up more. Oh, come on, YouTube. YouTube's having problems today. It's not you, it's YouTube. I'm all right, so let's go back. Since May 5th. Go back before that. No, let's go back when we started this. We did our first election interview, focused on election specifically on April 30th with Joan Swart from the Referendum Party. And then we did Fatima Abdul, Robert King. Then we did the solar photovoltaic thing, Neil DeBeer. That's 5. Donald Brown, 6. Mark Oppenheimer, 7. No 2 is 8. Corny Mulder is 9. Yeah, we've got Bantu Olamis on Monday and Kenneth Mishway on Wednesday. I'm working with Devin Hoffmeyer to get him on next week as well. So, yeah, kind of busy. That's absolutely true. All right. Well, Sean, the interviews do just keep coming, but I had even more of them in 2021. I had the most extensive coverage of South Africa's elections. Yes, Flesh, and if the Stormers lose to the Dragons, their season is over. Yep. Even if they still make it in the playoffs, it's over. All right, I'm going to end it here. You'll be directed to Ronaldo. We'll be back there in 5 minutes. Thanks a lot, guys. Excuse me. And then hopefully you can make it to Rugby Ascendant later on for the Stormers and Dragons. Flesh and I expect to see you there. Cheers, everybody. Have a good weekend. Be sure to hit the like button. Love it. Leave it. Stay with it. Don't go with it. Cheers. I don't know what that was.